What is up, guys? It's the Sound Alchemist, and today I'm back to bring you 40 facts on the Warhammer 40k universe. Today we are going into yet another fan chapter. This one is called the Malum Indevitatus, and it is a Raven Guard successor chapter during the Dark Founding. Basically what this name translates into is the necessary evil or the inescapable evil, depending on your viewpoint. So let's go into this lore and you decide, is it an evil that cannot be escaped, or is it an evil that needs to be brought to this world? So without further ado, let's dive into it. The first chapter master was Raven Guard Lieutenant Commander Simos Zarek, the Crimson Crow. He was the head of the Malum Indevitatus chamber of the Raven Guard chapter. Their war cry. The chapter prides itself in covert warfare, and thus they in no time diminished or eliminated their heraldry's most striking features, in order to make it hard for their foes to understand their command structure. Apart from that, the Malum Indevitatus brothers are proficient in the use of psychological manipulation and terror tactics, though not to the extent or kind of practice exercised by the Night Lords or their alleged brethren, the Carcharodons. They use their eerie voices not to announce their intent or creed, but to unsettle their opponents, especially in urban environments where the background of a chaotic battlefield is absent. And their terrifying otherworldly murmurs, chants, and bellows mingle with the ubiquitous hum of the hive cities. Yet, when an open field engagement is due, the rare incidence of hearing their war cry occurs. The veterans of the first alone will then proclaim their unwavering allegiance to the long-term vision of the Emperor of Mankind by shouting, "The Emperor wills, we brothers must." Their doctrine. The chapter's specialties are stealth, assassination, espionage, and urban warfare, as well as attrition war. Its hallmarks are the surgical precision and relentless pursuit of its goals, no matter the cost implied or strategy required. Each company has its own specialty, although every company is to be considered more than well-versed in all of the aspects of stealth-based engagement. Interestingly enough, while in general the chapter seems to follow the Codex Astartes, with the exception of certain terminology quirks, it features two prevalent differences. A. There are no Devastator Marines of the Malum Indevitatus, with the Tech Marines taking up the role of heavy support. And B. There is a scout company, but it does not operate on its own, since its duties are being distributed across all units of the chapter. Instead, every squad operating in the field is using a number of scouts, 7 to 10 Marines, 2 to 3 scouts. A scout is not considered worthy of full induction to the chapter until he has completed one Coven tour as a member of 2 different companies. These two differentiations stem from the distinct battle doctrines of the Malum Indevitatus and their willingness to demonstrate flexibility when it comes to improving their combat and operational effectiveness. Their choice of tactics deemed dishonorable for the Astartes standards has lent creed to an increased level of mistrust against the chapter from their fellow Marines. Few chapters have willingly accepted a joint assignment with the Malum Indevitatus without the subtle pressure of the Lords of Terra, other than the Raptors, who consider them highly, and nearly all other Raven Guard successors who harbor amicable sentiments towards them. Other chapters that have reportedly worked in concert with them are the likes of the Sons of Medusa, the Minotaurs, and the Space Sharks, which has led to an even greater mistrust from the wider Astartes forces, despite the well-attested for and widely proclaimed loyalty of the Malum Indevitatus. The Gene Seed. Corvus Corax inherited upon his sons a number of aberrant characteristics long associated with Raven Guard and their successors, and thus tolerated by the Imperium. The Malum Indevitatus bears 2 of those mutations. The oversensitive oculobe organ grants them excellent, even among transhumans, night vision, although it hampers them in brighter than normal or sometimes even normal light. The chapter brothers also suffer from the disturbing voice syndrome, where their voice box has suffered mutation that turns their voice to a range of otherworldly, unsettling tones. Some will speak with booming bass, some will screech like creatures of myth, some will whisper like wraiths in a haunted catacomb. The result is unnerving for the strongest of resolves, when to soften the heart will instill terror in them. The special equipment. close combat specialist will receive with their first Gold Raptor or Carrion Wing commendation their own Power Talon and Power Wart. The Power Talon is a short power blade attached to a last pistol's hand grip, allowing for extreme close quarters efficiency without sacrificing the second hand to employ a ranged firearm. The offhand will instead sport the Power Wart, a powerful energy shield able to parry laser beams, power weapons, and inflict damage at close quarters. The combination is lethal, but the proper use requires excessive amounts of training and experience. On the other hand, scouts will serve their first 2 covens, wielding amongst other weaponry a Neuromag rifle, patent design of Zarek and named Zarek's Kiss, or just the Kiss. It will stun and disorient even the sturdiest built opponent with so much as a sound, and it will slow down units, and the crushing pain it will inflict on the target's chest will render breathing, let alone speaking, a growling torture for a considerable amount of time. Their homeworld. The Malum Indevitatus holds no world as its home. The chapter covens blurred the lines between crusade and predation, each one being independent enough to operate for long in relative seclusion. Instead of the chapter's headquarters are on board their battle barge and fortress monastery, the fabled Nidus Saker. And now let's dive into one of their most notable campaigns, the Twilight Nova Crusade. The Astra Vesper was an Astartes chapter about which little is known anymore, with nearly all of their legacy being expunged from records. What is known is that they were tasked with the protection of the Imperial shipyard and the administration worlds of the Kylos Nebula, a thriving sector in the Segmentum Tempestus, and the linchpin of Imperial presence in this area. Eventually, Draco Sepet, the master of the chapter, requested their being awarded the permission to generate successor chapters, a request the High Lords did not grant. The chapter then recruited heavily to soon reach several thousands worth of manpower, possibly more than 5,000 Astartes, and then declared military independence. The High Lords, not wanting to allow this incident to become publicly known, forced an embargo and then tasked 3 chapters to enforce compliance. Very little is known about the actions taken by the Malum Indevitatus, the Minotaurs, and the Sons of Medusa, other than that come the end of the Crusade, 3 administration worlds had been purged. The Astra Vesper had been rendered defunct. The Minotaurs never returned to the Imperium, vanishing out of sight and record. And one chapter, that no records have existed before, was mentioned to have helped the Crimson Crows resolve the shipyard siege to a profitable for the Imperium truce. A chapter that then departed on a penitence crusade for unknown reasons, in the Segmentum Tempestus, to carve its own bloody swath across it, and its many terrors, had since remained largely isolated from Imperial command. This was the Wolves' Serpentine. Imperial records regarding the action of the Crusade have been either expunged or classified by the High Lords of Terra. A lot of controversy was raised at the bloody wake of the Crusade that forged the Malum Indevitatus into a quarantine state. Many believe that if the Minotaurs were not already doing the bidding of the Lords of Terra, then this crusade was the turning point after which they were forced to leave the spotlight and accept their transformation into the savage, advanced, and fiercely loyal to the Lords of Terra, Minotaurs of the 41st millennium. And there you have it, guys. That was the lore on the Malum Indevitatus custom fan-made chapter. Now this chapter is pretty amazing. There's a lot more to it, but I only had time for this amount of awesomeness to go around. So if you guys want more info on it, I greatly recommend you guys to scour the interwebs. I know I saw another YouTuber post a little bit more lore on this, so check them out, guys. Also, big ups to Nick M. This was his lore. Really well thought out, really well structured. Just awesome lore right there. If you have any questions for him, I'm sure he'd greatly appreciate them in the comments below. So do that, guys. Also, if you guys have any tips, anything he can improve on, what you guys want to learn more about, leave them down in the comments. This was really awesome because I feel like we don't get to dive too much into the Raven Guard and their successor chapters in this channel. So here's a little bit of fan-made lore on that. Also guys, don't forget, we do post on Facebook each and every day, so head on over there. Also, there are some giveaways coming, so stay tuned for that, both on Facebook and on the YouTube channel. And that's pretty much all I've got. Don't forget to go over to our Patreon page if you want to catch some more 40k content on there. It's only $1 a month, and that $1 goes towards your giveaways as well as for helping us make more 40k content. And that's all I've got for real this time. As always, I'm the Sound Alchemist, part of One Mind Syndicate, and I'll catch you guys tomorrow.